Welcome to Easing Inflammation at Perimenopause and Beyond. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Pauline Cox. I'm a functional nutritionist and I'm an author. And I'm also a woman in her 40s. So this is a very, very relevant and interesting subject for me. And thank you so much for everyone who filled out that form to join this evening, because it's given some fantastic data for us to work on. Reading those forms, so many of you are experiencing this wide range of what can seemingly be really confusing symptoms. And what the purpose of this evening is to really help you understand those symptoms and, more importantly, get some knowledge on how to mitigate and alleviate those symptoms. So you don't have to suffer. We don't have to normalize these symptoms that we start to experience in our late 30s and beyond. Now, there's going to be a range of you at different ages and different stages of your female hormonal landscape. I know that from the demographic data we've been gathering. So there are some of you in your 30s, there's a significant amount of you in your 40s and in your 50s and 60s. So there's going to be something for everyone in this talk, because as we transition through this hormonal health journey, we start to experience different symptoms. And that's absolutely linked to the changes in our hormones. And that's what we're going to be highlighting this evening, how it relates to the symptoms that you experience and what you can do. So we're going to get started with the talk. Just make sure that I'm okay on my tech side. Okay, so you can see here on the first slide, this is a snapshot of some of the data that I gathered from your surveys. And you can see one of the most prevalent symptoms was mood, low mood, anxiety. And that's extremely common for us ladies as we enter perimenopause, which is an 8 to 10 year journey. We are 4 times more prone to anxiety, depression, and mood disorders as we transition through this 8 to 10 year period. It doesn't mean there's nothing we can do about it. And there's absolutely a huge amount we can do to support our mental well-being, our nervous system, anxiety as we go through this period. Weight gain, general aches and pains, joint pain, migraines, headaches, night sweats, hot flushes. We have the whole smorgasbord here. Cravings, constipation, low energy, sleep issues, hair loss. So as I go through this evening, I want to help you to understand why these symptoms might be presenting, how they're all interlinked, and what you can do about it. Okay, first slide. Interesting. Some grass and a lawnmower. What I want to do first and foremost is help you understand the relationship between estrogen and progesterone. I'm going to be simplifying this as much as I can for you to really help you to get to grips with these two really important sex hormones. Now, estrogen is a very dominant hormone. It has receptors all over the body, loads of receptors in the brain, the bones, the musculoskeletal system. And progesterone helps to calm the influence of estrogen. So if we think of estrogen like grass growing thick and long, and progesterone is the lawnmower, keeping it in check, stopping it running wild and getting too crazy. As we go through our female hormonal lives, we have this really nice interplay, this lovely balance between estrogen and progesterone. We get this roughly 28 to 32 day cycle where they have this lovely interplay and they work really nicely off one another. If these two hormones become out of balance, that's when we can start to see issues that can translate as symptoms. As you can see on the slide here, the brain has a huge amount of influence from these sex hormones, and the brain hormones within there, dopamine, serotonin, GABA, all of these different areas within our life, our sleep, mood, emotions, metabolic health, which we'll be covering this evening also, energy, motivation, they're all influenced by our sex hormones, which is why when we transition through perimenopause, we can have such a huge range of symptoms. So let's look at very early perimenopause. Look at this wild grass growing long and thick, and this tiny little lawnmower trying to keep up. So as we enter very early perimenopause, we can start to lose progesterone. How quickly we lose progesterone can depend on a number of things. For example, our lifestyle and dietary habits. So when we have a lot of stress in our life, this can rob us of progesterone. So as we enter very early perimenopause, and we're talking sort of late 30s, early 40s, we can start to see the influence of lots of estrogen and a little bit of progesterone. So progesterone's going down and estrogen becomes dominant. So the symptoms are very reflective of that. So when we think about estrogen and its role, it helps to thicken the endometrial lining in preparation for pregnancy. Progesterone holds it in place. So as we have this dominance of estrogen, we get a thickening of the endometrial lining. So we can start to get heavier, clottier periods. We can get more of the PMS type symptoms because we don't have that calming, soothing effect of progesterone. We can start to get almost like a second puberty type symptom. Irritability, anger, estrogen's really dominating and playing its role on the brain, the breast tissue, so we can get breast tenderness. And then as we lose the progesterone, we can start to notice increased anxiety and poor sleep because progesterone is our calming sex hormone. It has this really important influence on the nervous system. So it's there to really support and mitigate against estrogen's dominance. So as we lose progesterone, we're getting that increase in estrogen's dominance, flooding, clotting periods, but we're also losing the calming effect. So we can start to see increased anxiety, poor sleep. And this shows up as symptoms. So let's transition through this period where we're now starting to see a loss in estrogen. So this is a few years we're skipping through now. We're getting these erratic periods. We're starting to get maybe into our later 40s, 47, 48. Estrogen is less dominant now, and we're starting to lose estrogen. And as you can see at the bottom of the screen, we've still got a little bit of grass, but it's not thick and wild and growing crazy like it was when we had that very dominant estrogen picture. Now progesterone's come down and estrogen is also coming down. So then we can start to see a different range of symptoms: internal dryness, dry skin, hot flushes, persistent hunger, fatigue, and brain fog. Irritability and anger can still be there, poor sleep and anxiety. Then we have this influence on the brain. And this is where inflammation starts to really kick in. So estrogen and progesterone are anti-inflammatory hormones. In their right amount, they're beautiful hormones that just work fantastically well. They're the Goldilocks hormones. We don't want too much, we don't want too little, we want just the right amount. So if we have too much estrogen, it can be pro-inflammatory. If we have too little, it can be pro-inflammatory. So when we get to the stage where they're really becoming low, we can start to see inflammation increasing. Now, there are other things that are adding to that inflammatory load. And as you see in the screen, some of the symptoms we're experiencing are persistent hunger, brain fog, irritability. And this is because estrogen has a really important function in the brain. It helps to take glucose, our source of fuel from the blood, and shunts it into the brain. So the brain has a source of fuel to function at its best. As we lose estrogen, we lose this fuel system to the brain, which is exceptionally important because the brain has all these different centers responsible for memory and learning, responsible for body temperature regulation, responsible for appetite, and all the different areas. So if we're losing estrogen and the fuel system to the brain is already not optimal, then we can start to see this really chaotic period in the brain where we're getting brain fog and memory issues and mood issues and body temperature dysregulation. And that's very much linked to the fuel system in the brain. So estrogen has a big effect on our metabolic system, our fuel system, to the muscles, but very importantly to the brain. So we really want to be optimizing the fuel to our brain to ensure that all of those parts of the brain are fueled correctly, even though we're losing estrogen. So the brain's not designed to go, oh, estrogen's going, poof, I'm going to be suffering. But in the modern world that we live in, and the way we fuel ourselves and the way we're eating, living, our lifestyle, diet is absolutely adding to this challenge of getting adequate fuel into the brain. And there's a situation, let's call it, because it's really a spectrum, called insulin resistance. And that worsens and prolongs the symptoms of perimenopause and beyond. So insulin resistance is really when the blood glucose is struggling to get into the cells, the muscle cells, the brain cells. So that insulin resistant picture is then worsened as estrogen starts to drop off. And now the brain's like, well, I was struggling to get fuel into my cells before. Now I'm struggling even more. And so as blood sugars start to creep up because of this insulin resistance situation, and insulin levels start to creep up because of this insulin resistant situation, we can start to see the brain really struggle during this period. So this is why what we're eating and how we're eating, the impact of the food on our blood sugars has such an important role, particularly in this 10-year period of perimenopause and absolutely beyond as well. We're going to readdress that when we come to the diet, but it's just important to note that as estrogen comes down, the fuel to the brain, the estrogen's ability to support glucose going into the brain starts to decline also. Okay, so you can see in this image as well, we have serotonin, dopamine, GABA. These are some of the brain hormones, and they have various impacts on our mood and their influence on our body. So serotonin is our feel-good hormone. It's our happy hormone. It's our singing in the shower hormone. It's a hormone that makes us feel really good. So dopamine is our motivation hormone. It's our get up and go hormone. It makes us feel like we're confident and we can take on the world. And GABA is our calming brain hormone. Now, inflammation reduces the brain's ability to produce these brain hormones, these neurotransmitters. So as our estrogen and progesterone come down and our inflammatory levels come up and our blood sugars are coming up also, which is pro-inflammatory, then our brain's natural production of these brain hormones also starts to come down. So we can start to see lower levels of serotonin, lower levels of dopamine, lower levels of GABA, and that's all mixed into the pot with the influence of inflammation and what's going on with our fueling system. So as we look at that picture, there are these inflection points. There are these areas that we have control over, and we can start to influence and support the fuel system to the brain to allow it to have great access to the memory area and the body temperature regulation, the hunger centers, all of these areas that are seemingly going a little bit like, where's my estrogen gone? I need it back, can recalibrate and happily move forward if we've got the fueling system working optimally. We've removed that insulin resistant picture and optimized insulin sensitivity. We're removing that inflammatory picture so our brain hormones are functioning optimally again. And all of a sudden, a lot of these symptoms will start to ease off and die away. So as we drop down from that picture, we've got this inflammatory load. Now, inflammation plays such an important role. It adds to the burden that we're carrying as we're trying to transition through this shift in our sex hormones. And a lot of this inflammatory load, yes, we've lost our anti-inflammatory benefits of estrogen and progesterone, but a lot of the inflammatory load is also coming from how we're living and what we're eating. So our diet is incredibly important during this period because what you're eating can either add to your inflammatory load or help to normalize it. So what we're eating can affect our gut, which is an area of great importance when it comes to our overall health, but also our hormonal health. But it also can add to our inflammatory load because those foods can be very pro-inflammatory or they can be anti-inflammatory. So we have our diet, then we have our food choices adding to our inflammatory load or lowering it. Then we have the gut, which is also an area where our gut microbiome, which is a collection of microbes within the gut, can either add to our inflammatory load or help to normalize our inflammatory load. Then there's that pathway that we have a great deal of control over. I would argue that the choices you make as to what you eat on a daily basis are one of the most important choices you make every single day, because it will determine the energy that you have, your mood, your inflammatory load. So whether you feel achy and sore and you're like, I don't want to go for a walk today, I don't feel so good, and I feel tired, so I'm going to grab some sweets and chocolates to give me that boost. When we really look at our diet and start to add those really great nutritional cornerstones, it can start to weave a pathway that helps us make better choices. Now, the other thing about our diet is the influence on the thyroid. And again, at this point in time, this perimenopausal journey, so many women start to get issues with their thyroid. The thyroid has a number of things that will influence it. So, inflammation is a major one. Estrogen levels do influence your thyroid, but inflammation will absolutely downregulate. You'll get hypothyroidism. Your thyroid becomes sluggish if it's sat in a soup of inflammation. So we really want to be making sure that we're not inflamed and sore and achy, because that's going to have an influence on our thyroid. And if our thyroid becomes sluggish, then of course we start to get all the symptoms of a sluggish thyroid: weight gain, thinning hair, low mood, constipation, loss of the outer part of your eyebrows, cold extremities. And of course, as we get this slowing of our metabolism, and we're already a bit more prone to weight gain during perimenopause because of the influence of our sex hormones on our metabolic hormones. So as we get this inflammatory load affecting our thyroid, then we can get increased weight gain. And if it's belly fat or visceral fat, that in itself then adds to the inflammatory load. So belly fat produces inflammation. So we've got our weight status that then adds to inflammation. We get stressed about it. Most of us are in this kind of stressed state already, which then influences the thyroid. And then the thyroid starts to become more sluggish. So we've got inflammation affecting the thyroid, stress affecting the thyroid, too much estrogen or too little estrogen affecting the thyroid, and our diet. So the thyroid is a gland that has very, very specific needs. It needs these core nutrients to function. And if we're low in certain nutrients, it's not going to function at its best. So for the thyroid, we need iodine. Now, iodine we typically would have found in lots of our leafy greens and our vegetables because our soils were so rich in iodine. And they're just not the same nutrient dense and rich soils as they would have been 60 years ago. So we need to be a bit more conscious about how we're getting some of these nutrients into our diet. And for me, seaweed is just the perfect way of getting iodine into your diet. You always want to get organic seaweed. I like the little shakers, so you can get these little, the Cornish Sea Salt Company do shakers, but just make sure it's an organic seaweed, because seaweed is a scavenger, so it'll suck up lots of pollutants and nasty stuff from the ocean, and then you're consuming that. So an organic seaweed is a really wonderful source of iodine to support your thyroid. Selenium. Again, selenium you'll find in Brazil nuts. So 2 Brazil nuts a day is a wonderful source of selenium. If you feel like you need more support, you can take it as a supplement. But if you're just looking to make sure you're getting your RDA, then 2 Brazil nuts will give you a really nice amount of selenium. Magnesium, iron, and zinc. And these are ones that are often overlooked when it comes to the thyroid. And they're really important, particularly ladies, if you're in that perimenopausal journey where you're getting lots of heavy bleeding and flooding periods, you may already be low in iron. And a lot of women are low in iron because they're not absorbing it through their gut, and they may not be eating enough meat, or like me, I eat a lot of red meat. I just don't absorb iron so well. So it's making sure you're getting those core nutrients in to support your thyroid, as well as bringing your inflammatory levels down. So here we go. A picture encompassing all of these little symptoms that can be popping up as a result of this growing inflammatory load. We can start to get skin issues and aches and pains and anything ending in itis, bursitis, tendinitis, low motivation, low mood, highly emotional. Remember, our poor brain is just desperate to get some fuel into there, and it can't get the fuel in. Sorry, my screen will come back in a second. There it is. Brain fog, fatigue, hot flushes, histamine issues. I know on the form, some of you said about histamine Histamine is produced by the mast cells. And as we get very estrogen dominant, this can stimulate more histamine to be produced. So you start to get a drippy nose and rashes and itching. So we just want to be calming all of this down, calming the inflammation that can then affect the thyroid. It can affect all the itises and many of these symptoms that we're experiencing. So, how are we doing this? We're looking at the 3 pillars to support our hormonal health. Diet is the one that we're really going to be focused on this evening because it's such an important first pillar. Really, the other 2 can start to follow on once we sort out our diet because it's very, very hard to motivate yourself to get up and go for a yoga session or a long walk in the woods when you're absolutely exhausted, you're not sleeping, you've got a migraine or your back hurts or whatever the symptoms you're experiencing. Life just feels so much better when you're seeing those symptoms going, you're sleeping better, and you've got more energy. So, diet, an anti-inflammatory diet. I'm summarizing here, okay, because this is a lot to cover in one session, but in a nutshell, cruciferous vegetables, which are broccoli, cauliflower, kale, Brussels sprouts, these are wonderful for your liver. They support the detoxification of used hormones out of your liver. Your liver works incredibly hard. It is such a hard-working organ. I mean, it really is the workhorse. And we don't really talk about the liver very much. It's not a particularly sexy subject. Yeah, how's your liver doing? The liver is such a hard-working organ, and it's incredibly forgiving. We can abuse it for many, many years in our 20s and even our 30s. And when it comes to our 40s, when our liver's like, listen, I need you right now because I need to be getting rid of all these used hormones, particularly cortisol and used estrogen, as we're losing progesterone and estrogen spiking, your liver needs to be working in tip-top condition as you enter perimenopause. And so the liver loves cruciferous vegetables. It really helps to support the phases of detoxification. And it's such a simple addition to your daily diet. I have bags of frozen cauliflower and broccoli and all sorts in my freezer that I'll just throw into the pan to make sure I'm getting cruciferous in my diet every day. And when you saute things like kale and spinach, you're actually increasing the magnesium bioavailability. So it's a really nice way. Freezer to me is just such a treasure trove of goodness that makes it very easy when we're really busy. So cruciferous is a liver-loving food that you really want to be looking to get into your diet every day. Also packed with fiber, which is wonderful for our bowel movements and our microbiome, our gut microbiome. Brightly colored berries. I'm such a fan of blueberries or bilberries. Bilberries are the little tiny ones. They're not quite as sweet. They're fairly tart. But if your sugar tolerance is coming down and you're starting to go on the less sweet side, then bilberries are wonderful. I always go for frozen because then it's not so much a seasonal issue. And, blueberries are wonderful. They're packed with vitamin C, fiber, antioxidants. They're really good for your blood sugar balance. They're great for your brain in terms of antioxidants and protection. So a handful of blueberries and some Greek yogurt is a really nice way, but get your black currants and your blackberries. All these brightly colored berries have a wonderful anti-inflammatory effect on the body, and they're really supporting your brain, your immune system, all the different systems in your body. Leafy greens, they're so great for your magnesium levels. We're going to talk about magnesium. Just really such a wonderful support for us at this time of our female hormonal lives. But leafy greens, just, get your leafy greens in and saute them. As I said, it accesses more of the magnesium. Healthy fats. We need our healthy fats, ladies. We need it for our hair, our skin. We need it for internal dryness. We just need these healthy fats for every aspect of our brain. The fattiest organ in your body is your brain. We don't want low fat. We want healthy fats. So we're going to make sure we get those. High quality protein. Again, just so important. Most women undereat protein. And as we get into our 40s, we need that protein. Protein is the building block of everything. It's made up of amino acids, and those amino acids are used for muscle and bone and hair and skin and nails and our immune system and our brain hormones. If you're low in protein, you're going to feel low. You're going to feel your serotonin levels will be low. Your dopamine levels will be low. You'll start to lose muscle mass, which will affect your metabolic rate. Your hair might start to thin. Your nails will become brittle. Protein is fundamental. So quality protein, like really nice quality eggs, free range eggs, which are really inexpensive. And, we eat eggs every day in our household because they're such a little powerhouse of nutrients. Um, Chicken, steak, fish, feta, goat's cheese, Greek yogurt. These are wonderful sources of protein. If you're vegan, then I love frozen organic edamame beans, soybeans. They're a nice source of protein. You just want to make sure that they're GMO free and they're organic just for a quality purpose. But protein is an absolute pillar for part of our hormonal health and our female health. And fermented foods. I'm a fermented food fan every day. And if you don't take it at the moment, go on, be brave, try some, because it's actually really delicious and it's kind of addictive, especially when you start finding all the different variations. Go to your local health food shop, start giving them a prod and say, we want to try the turmeric and ginger. We want to have some beetroot and some lemon and ginger and all these incredible botanicals that go into the sauerkraut. When they're fermented, you get more of the goodness. So let's say there's turmeric in your sauerkraut. The curcumin in turmeric, which is the really good bit, the bit that's so good for us, becomes more bioavailable when it's fermented. The allicin in garlic becomes more bioavailable when it's fermented. So you just have these wonderful good things in your sauerkraut, as well as the probiotics that you have within the sauerkraut itself. So those are the good guys, the friendly bacteria. It's also a very rich source of vitamin C, which we'll talk about shortly. And it's packed with fiber, so it's wonderful for your gut. It's really helping with your bowel movements, which we need at this time, because anything sat in the bowel too long gets reabsorbed into the body, and we do not want that used estrogen getting back in. So fermented foods. And then, look, I'm sorry to be the bad guy, but I have put a big cross next to alcohol, and that's obviously a choice that you have to make. But just be aware that alcohol has a really challenging impact on our hormones at this time. It really upsets the gut microbiome. It sedates you before bed. It doesn't help you go to sleep. So you're going to be getting very poor quality sleep. It's pro-inflammatory and it really doesn't help the poor brain. And at this time in our lives, there is really nothing more important than supporting our brain, protecting our brain. Ladies, we are more at risk of Alzheimer's disease than men are because of this shift in our brain, the shift in the fueling of our brain because of the loss of estrogen. Now, it doesn't mean to say we're going to get it, but it means that we have to be aware of it so that we can optimize our brain fueling system and we can give our brain the key nutrients it needs to protect itself against neurodegeneration. I've also put in there sugary foods and ultra processed foods. Now, I mentioned earlier about blood sugars and how blood sugars really do play a key part in supporting us through our hormone journey. Now, if we're perpetually getting high spikes in our blood sugars because we're eating, a custard cream or a few Jaffa cakes or big baguettes with crisps after, whatever it is that we're doing to eat and get these big spikes in our blood sugar, and we're doing it regularly, frequently enough, that's going to impact our body's ability to mop up that blood sugar and get it into the cells. And eventually the cells are just like, I'm not taking this blood sugar anymore. I've had enough. I've got enough in there. Insulin, stop trying to push this glucose into here. I'm done. And the body's like, well, I've got to get rid of it. So it starts producing more insulin to try and get more of this glucose into the cells, and they're refusing. So our blood sugars start going up. Our insulin levels start going up, and that has a pro-inflammatory effect on the body. It also means that the cells in our brain that are going, I'm hungry, I need fuel, are kind of closed off, and that system of getting glucose into the brain is like, gates closed, nothing's coming in. So your brain's going, I am so hungry, eat like your life depends on it. And our body's like, oh, I've just eaten a massive meal. What's wrong with you, brain? Surely I can't still be hungry. So our hunger becomes very dysregulated when our blood sugars become really dysregulated, when we have this insulin resistant picture. But our inflammatory levels also go right up. Now, one of the consequences of having high blood sugars and high inflammatory levels is pulls down your magnesium. And that is just layer that on top of everything else, and you really start to get an unpleasant picture. Magnesium helps to relax and calm the nervous system. Magnesium is such an important mineral. It supports your sleep. It's really important for blood sugars and insulin sensitivity. So it essentially helps insulin get the blood sugars into the cells. So as you lose magnesium, you become more insulin resistant. And as you become more insulin resistant and your inflammatory levels go up and your blood sugars go up, you lose more magnesium. Can you see the vicious cycle here? It's so important for bone health. Magnesium is so important for bone health. We all harp on about calcium and we need to add calcium. Calcium and magnesium compete with one another. So if you're supplementing calcium and you don't have enough magnesium, you're going to be depleting your magnesium even further. It's a natural stress reliever. It soothes your body. As progesterone goes down, that calming brain hormone GABA also comes down. As you increase your magnesium levels, it increases GABA. So it helps to calm the nervous system. It relaxes the muscles, but it also is essential in making energy. It's important for contraction of muscle. So that kind of just fatigued sensation that we can get, it can help give your muscle energy again. It eases PMS. So period pains. This is really important if you've got teenage daughters or daughters in their 20s or nieces, whoever. If they're experiencing PMS, magnesium relaxes the uterus. It's a muscle, so it eases that contraction. So it's really helpful for PMS, and it's really helpful as the symptoms of PMS increase during that perimenopausal period. It helps to regulate cortisol, so buffers the stress hormone. Blood pressure. The cardiovascular system is made up of a series of muscular tubes. So when they tighten up, particularly when you have insulin resistance, if you have high blood pressure, it's highly likely you have insulin resistance. Now, as you increase magnesium, it can help to relax the blood vessels, which can help to normalize blood pressure. And it's essential for energy production, as I've already said. Where are we finding magnesium? Green leafy vegetables, saute, saute, saute. It is hard to get enough magnesium. Why is it so hard to get enough magnesium? Because we're losing it. We're losing it when we're stressed. We're losing it with blood sugars. We're losing it with inflammation. We don't absorb as much magnesium through our gut as we did in our 20s and 30s. And as you get into your 40s, it's just harder to get some of these nutrients absorbed through your gut. If you're taking medication, HRT, the oral contraceptive pill, antibiotics, these can all start to deplete you. And I'm not saying don't take the medication. If you're on HRT and it's working for you, wonderful. But be aware, it's going to pull down some of these nutrients. Now, how much magnesium should we be taking every day? The research suggests about 550 milligrams to help protect us from neurodegeneration. So that's quite a significant amount. I personally supplement 300 milligrams every day. So that is approximately, let's have a look at this guy. This one here, each one of these is 100 milligrams. So, we might think that's quite a lot, 3 of those every night before bed. And you have to find your sweet spot. For me, 300 works. I'm 45. I need that sleep support. I want to get that deep, restful sleep. And if you're taking a magnesium supplement at the moment, wonderful. Check what compound you're taking. You either want a glycinate, which is magnesium and glycine, or a biglycinate, 2-glycine and a magnesium. Ideally, you want B6 in there as well, which is why I take that Terra Nova one, because it has the B6. On the label, it will say P5P. Just ignore that. That means B6. It has the glycine and the magnesium. Now, glycine reduces your core body temperature at night. Tick. Really great for us perimenopausal women and beyond. If you're getting hot flushes still in your 50s, great for that. The glycine also helps to build collagen, and it's also really great for building your master antioxidant glutathione. So, as I said, if you're taking magnesium, wonderful. It should be working for you. You should feel the difference. If not, check the type of compound. If it says oxide, it's just not going to be absorbed as well. Magnesium oxide is very poorly absorbed. If it says citrate, that one is better absorbed, but it can cause some tummy upset. So just check in with, how you're feeling on yours. I take mine on an empty stomach every night before bed. It's a really great time to take it because, as I said, it really soothes and eases you into a good night's sleep. Avocados, a really nice source of magnesium. Dark chocolate, yay. Yay for the dark chocolate. Try and go for a 90 or ease your way up, 75, 80, 90. And your seeds, nuts, pumpkins, almonds are also a nice source of magnesium. Okay, amigas. Amigas are your amigo. They are your best friend at this point in your lives. I mean, frankly, they're your best friend at any point in your lives. And my children all get supplemented amigas, and they have done since day dot. It's so important for our brain. And at this point in our lives, it's so important for protecting your brain. It's going to bring down those inflammatory levels, those aches and pains. We can start to ease them by bringing our inflammatory level, our immune system, helping to modulate it with some important essential fatty acids. And they're called essential because we can't make them ourselves. We have to get them through our diet. We need these lovely omegas for our hair, nourished hair, skin health, our cardiovascular health. If we don't have enough of these important essential fatty acids, it can really put us more at risk of certain cardiovascular issues. So LDL cholesterol, for example, there's nothing bad or scary about LDL, but if it becomes damaged or oxidized, then it's not such a great thing. Having sufficient essential fatty acids in your diet protects your cholesterol from getting damaged and oxidized. So there are many, many things. There are many benefits that we get from getting the right essential fatty acids. Now, you can get these in oily fish, salmon, herring, mackerel, anchovies. I personally don't eat a great deal of fish, but if you're eating fish every day, you don't need to supplement your omegas. If you're not eating fish every day and you're a bit reluctant to, and that's understandable because, our oceans are just not what they used to be, then you may want to supplement. I personally supplement with this little, oops. Ta-da! I supplement with this one. It's called Regenerative Omegas. Now, I used to take fish oil, but the reason I take this one now is because it also has something called GLA. Now, you'll see on there it says omega-6, and some of you might be like, do I need omega-6? I know I need omega-3. Do I need omega-6? This particular omega-6 is the GLA, and you might have heard of evening primrose oil. You get GLA in evening primrose oil. However, you also get something called linoleic acid, which is pro-inflammatory in evening primrose oil, and so I kind of just think, well, why not get something with all of the omega-3 in it, plus the really good omega-6, the GLA, and something that's 100% traceable and that's going to have a really great benefit for your skin, your hair, your nails, and your cardiovascular system. So you can absolutely add in your linseed, your chia seed, your walnuts, but these are plant-based omegas that will not necessarily support your brain in the same way as ahi flour or a fish oil. So just make sure, particularly if you're not eating a lot of seafood or oily fish, that you're getting those brain fats because they're so critically important for our mood, our mental well-being, our memory, and protecting the brain for 10, 20, 30 years down the line. Okay, think zinc. So if I'm going to be completely honest here, I would say the two most important supplements, if you're going to take a supplement, would be your magnesium and your omegas. Like those are my non-negotiables. If I'm going to a desert island, they're coming with me. Zinc is kind of in line there with D3, but if it's sunny, then D3 goes out the window and zinc is still one of my core. I love zinc because it's such a great all-rounder, very much like magnesium, and we tend to just not get enough unless you're eating loads of seafood. Yes, you can get in pumpkin seeds, but it's actually pretty hard to get zinc from a plant-based form. Seafood really is the most bioavailable, but again, I'm not chowing down on oysters and mussels every night, unfortunately. So I do take a 15 milligram zinc supplement every afternoon, and it's really important for building protein. For making our DNA, our skin, our immune system absolutely relies on zinc. It's so important for your thymus, making T cells, um, hormone balance. We need it for making progesterone. And men, if you've got any men in your lives, they need it for their testosterone. So this is not just for the ladies. This is also an all-rounder. Same with the regeneratives and same with magnesium. These are family-friendly supplements for supporting health. Hormone balance, your senses. So interestingly, if you start to get changes in taste. You know how when kids, they eat loads of sugar, that completely depletes you of zinc. Then they're like, oh, this broccoli tastes horrible. And oh, this pepper tastes disgusting. And you're like, no, they taste so good. Your taste buds are altered when your zinc levels are low. Your hearing can be altered. Your eyesight, the senses need zinc. So it's very antiviral as well. It's a really important micronutrient. Hair and nail growth. Again, you need your zinc for healthy hair. Your hair follicles rely on zinc. So if you've got enough zinc, you're going to have nice, healthy hair follicles in order to grow hair. Thyroid function, we mentioned earlier, really important for the thyroid hormones, which come later down the chain. And mood, so important for motivation and making some of these brain hormones. And zinc is also anti-inflammatory, so it's helping to push down that inflammatory load. So meat and seafood are our main sources. As I said, it's more bioavailable in the animal form. So if you're vegetarian or vegan, you are undoubtedly going to be low in zinc. If you're over the age of 40, you're almost certainly also going to be low in zinc because it's a challenging one to absorb after a certain period of time. Our gut acidity changes. Also, if you're on blood pressure meds, that tends to deplete you of zinc and iron. So pumpkin seeds are a good source, not a great source, but they're an okay source, and supplemental zinc biglycinate. So picolinate is also a pretty good compound, but it's not as bioavailable as the biglycinate. So if you're looking to supplement your zinc, I take a 15 milligram small amount every day, and also take it in the afternoon. Don't take it with your other supplements because zinc is a bully. It will just punch everything else out the way. It wants to be taken on its own. So a lot of supplements like your omegas can take at lunchtime. You can take a vitamin C at lunchtime, but in the afternoon, 2 hours later, that's when you want to be taking your zinc. Okay, now vitamin C. I'm going to bring vitamin C to the party because vitamin C can be incredibly helpful for us ladies at this time of our lives because our adrenals are really working in overload. And whenever you go through the stress cascade, you're pulling down your vitamin C. If you're inflamed, you're really using up vitamin C. Vitamin C is a water-soluble vitamin, so we don't store it. So we're constantly having to replenish. We can't make it ourselves. We have to be taking it in and getting it on a daily basis. So when we're stressed, we're pulling it down. When we're inflamed, we're pulling it down. Our poor adrenals are constantly going through this stress cascade, and that's using up vitamin C, our precious resources. It's so important for collagen building. I know we all like to think about chugging in collagen into our daily diet, and that's going to be this all-round miracle, not without vitamin C. So when sailors went to sea and they developed scurvy, and they started to get bone deformities and open sores, and their hair was falling out and their teeth were falling out, that scurvy was because their body couldn't make collagen anymore because they were lacking vitamin C. So those symptoms were as a result of not being able to build collagen, the scaffold of the body. So you need vitamin C to build collagen. Number one, very important. And we want to keep the integrity of our tissues. Ladies, especially as we start to see things, fighting gravity. We need that collagen to support us. So vitamin C helps with that. Now, the problem with a lot of food source vitamin C these days is it's picked, it's stuck on a shelf, and it sits there for days, weeks, and months. And the vitamin C content can just go down, 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 down. So even if we're eating bell peppers and berries, we can really find ourselves low in vitamin C. We can be getting bleeding gums and broken veins, tiredness, anemia, which is a sign of low vitamin C as well, because you need vitamin C to help draw the iron in. So yes, diet is incredibly important when it comes to vitamin C, but make sure you're getting the right source. So frozen berries are great because they're picked and frozen, so they tend to have high vitamin C levels. Sauerkraut, yes, come back to the sauerkraut. My favorite sauerkraut's making an appearance. Why? Because it's really rich in vitamin C. It's like top of the charts in terms of vitamin C. It has all those lovely probiotics and the fiber, but the secret sauce in sauerkraut is the vitamin C. So if you're getting sauerkraut into your daily diet, you're also getting a big punch of vitamin C. Peppers, kiwi fruit, citrus. As I said, yeah, good, pretty good. But if you're going to get food source frozen and sea buckthorn. Ta-da! I love sea buckthorn juice. It's very sour. It hasn't got a lot of sweetness to it. Don't let the word berry, sea buckthorn berry, ease you into any false sense of security that it's going to be delicious and sweet like a blueberry. It's not. It's sour and it makes you go, ooh, when you drink it because it's really punchy. But this magic berry is very rich in vitamin C and it's also very rich in omega 7. Now, omega 7 is your low estrogen best friend. It's really wonderful for internal dryness and dry eyes. So those membranes that can become really dry as we lose estrogen. So if you're getting lots of watery eyes and itchy eyes or internal soreness and dryness, then omega 7 is your best friend. The highest, richest food source of omega 7 is sea buckthorn juice, not the topical oil. I'm not talking about buying an oil and inserting it and rubbing it. No, take sea buckthorn juice or macadamia nuts, macadamia nut oil. That's also a really beautiful source of omega 7. It's not as high as your sea buckthorn juice, and you'll also get vitamin C in that, but it's still a really lovely source. So you should find if you're getting dry, itchy eyes or any internal dryness, then omega 7 is your best friend. So as I said, vitamin C, we really suck it dry when we're going through stressful periods, when our inflammatory levels are high, but it's so important for protecting the brain. It's like a shield in the brain, warding off these free radicals that are trying to damage and bombard our brain. It's really a great mood booster. So if you're looking for like a liposomal vitamin C, I'm a big fan. I take liposomal C every day because there's two reasons. I want to try and keep the wrinkles at bay. Who doesn't? But also, I just know how important it is for the structural integrity on the inside as well. So the blood vessels, keeping the collagen nice and tight in there to keep a really healthy cardiovascular system. My immune system, I want a tip-top immune system. And if you do find yourself getting hit by a cold or a cough or an infection, you can take a couple of the liposomals to really help reduce the collateral damage, the fevers, the aches, the pains. The body will thank you for taking, the Natraceutics, this one has 750 milligrams. This is a nice one. The kids will take this every maybe 2 or 3 days. I'll give them one just to boost their vitamin C, particularly during the winter. I like this one. I also like a little sachet called Altriant, and that one has something called phosphatidylcholine in it. So it's really wonderful for your memory. That one's quite expensive. So this one here is, I don't know, it's like £55 for a month's worth. So it's quite an expensive one compared to the other one. But if you just feel like you need it, particularly if you're not well at the moment and you're like, oh, I just feel awful, I need something, the sachets are wonderful. If it's a day-to-day topping up and you just want a really good liposomal to keep you going for a couple of months, then the Natraceutics is a really nice one. Okay. I will add in there as well vitamin D. I'm going to quickly talk to you about it at the end, but vitamin D during the winter months, if you're watching from a sunny state somewhere in America, then lucky you and you won't need it. Us here in the UK, at the moment, we want our vitamin D. If you're having vitamin D, please pair it with a K2. Vitamin D helps to increase calcium absorption. K2 helps to direct the calcium into the bones. So you can take a supplemental form like this, or you can take a spray. The sprays are really convenient. The kids love the sprays because it's just like open your mouth in the morning, off they go. And frankly, the sprays are very cost effective and very important for bone and dental development in children, as well, ladies, as protecting our bones as we get to the age when we're at more risk of losing bone. And on that point, I'm also going to say one of the main drivers of osteoporosis is inflammation. Bring your inflammatory levels down, protect your bones. Protein, bring your inflammatory levels down. Okay, managing stress, soothing a stressed nervous system. We could all do with a bit of that, couldn't we? Spend time in nature, high quality sleep. I know so many of you struggle with sleep. I know. I'm tempted to do one just all on sleep because it's such an important subject. Zinc helps you to build melatonin. That's your sleep hormone. So if you're taking magnesium and you're like, damn, I'm still not sleeping, I really need to sleep, then look at the different areas. Your serotonin turns into melatonin to help you sleep. You could be low in serotonin. Make sure you're getting your protein and amino acids to build your serotonin to help you get melatonin, which is converted with zinc. Look, I know there's a lot of information in here. If you need the recording, stick with us till the end and we'll make sure you get a copy. Zinc is important for helping you sleep as well as magnesium. High quality sleep, breath work, adaptogens. These are things that help you get out of fight or flight into rest and digest. We tend to stay in fight or flight a lot in our day, and we need to get into that rest and digest. So adaptogens help us do this. Ashwagandha, you may have heard of it. It's a very popular adaptogen that can help to soothe a stressed nervous system. There are lots of different strengths and brands and all sorts on the market. Depends on how you want to use it. You can just get a nice organic, straight up ashwagandha. You can get a fermented one, which makes it more bioavailable and a little bit punchier. Or you can get a pharmaceutical grade one, which again is a higher punch. And I've done a little cheat sheet at the end so you can see the different brands that I like and you can see which ones I personally use. So, and the other one on here I put for calming the nervous system is L-theanine. So L-theanine helps to relax the nervous system by increasing GABA. So if you remember at the beginning, I said as progesterone levels go down, GABA starts to go up. So L-theanine is this really smart little compound that goes into our body and it helps to increase GABA and help you feel chilled and relaxed. Now, L-theanine can be taken during the day, can be taken after you've had a coffee if it makes you feel jittery, can be taken at bedtime with your magnesium. It's a really flexible little supplement that can help make you feel nice and relaxed. Alcohol. No alcohol to relax. Try other things. If you're using alcohol to relax, try and find something else. If you're just having it because you're with friends and you're enjoying, awesome. But if it's your mainstay way of chilling out and relaxing, then it could be problematic for your nervous system. Too many stimulants. I love coffee. Yes, I do. Don't need much of it because it makes me go a little bit too stimulated. But if I'm having a coffee, I'll have it before 12 p.m., like lunchtime, and I won't have it very first thing in the morning. I'll have it like 90 minutes after I've woken up. Lifestyle. Okay, movement's really important. Once we start getting a bit more energy and we're bringing our inflammatory levels down and we're getting great sleep, we want to maybe incorporate some movement, daily walks. If you're not exercising in the moment, just go for a walk in the morning. Helps to set your circadian rhythm, and a good night's sleep always starts in the morning by getting some daylight. Resistance exercise. Listen, you don't have to go to a gym and start pumping iron. You could just do some nice plank, some seated squats against the wall, just a little bit of resistance to get started. And as you start to feel more confident and you're feeling good about yourself, particularly as you're starting to get some of this good stuff into your daily diet, then exercise and movement can start to come in. I'm not going to go into intermittent fasting right now because it's a lot to cover, but create a window for eating. It will massively influence your insulin sensitivity. So let's say you stop eating at 7 o'clock at night. Wonderful, great time of night to cut off eating. That gives you this really lovely window of fasting until you wake up the next day and you break your fast. If you eat late at night, it's going to raise your body temperature. That's the last thing we want when we're getting, hot flushes and not a good night's sleep. Your body temperature wants to come down in order to get a really good night's sleep. So if we eat late at night, our body temperature goes up and it's opposing us having a good night's sleep. If you wake up at 3 a.m. to go to the toilet, don't eat late at night and see what happens. It's amazing. Burning the candle at both ends, sitting all day, sometimes is me, but I try to get moving as much as I can. And a punishing exercise regime. Be kind to yourself, ladies. There's a lot going on in our lives at the moment. Okay, little simplification here. So we have diet at the top. That diet is influencing our gut. What's happening in our gut is influencing our brain. What's happening in our brain is influencing the choices we make on a daily basis. I'm tired. I feel depressed and rubbish. I don't feel good about myself. Oh, I'm just going to eat this to give me some energy and make me feel better. That then influences our gut, and it's this vicious circle. Inflammatory levels go up, starts to impact the thyroid, aches, joints, pains, and all these things. You can see how it starts to just permeate throughout the whole body. So when we start to look at our diet and we start to make those core pillars and great choices, it has this really amazing effect on all other areas of the body. Cheat sheet. Okay, I've created this little cheat sheet for you so that, look, I don't know your medical history or conditions. This is not medical advice, but it's just a oversimplification for you to go, I feel rubbish. My mood's not great. My anxiety levels aren't great. What were the name of those amigas again that she said? You can take that cheat sheet into your local health food shop and go, I want this, please. I want a decent magnesium that has biglycinate in it and ideally B6. I want a zinc biglycinate, or I want a nice vitamin C. This cheat sheet will give you a really nice starting point if you just want to improve your sleep. Essential fatty acids, magnesium, some zinc during the afternoon, maybe some ashwagandha if you want to stack it. With sleep, it's a stack. Always start with your magnesium, see how that goes. If the magnesium's not working, you could bring some L-theanine into it or some ashwagandha. Ashwagandha helps to blunt cortisol, and it gives you a little spike of testosterone, which is quite nice for your libido. Dry skin and internal dryness. You get your essential fatty acids in, your zinc to really help internal dryness as well. See, zinc's a busy micromineral. It's everywhere. It helps with protecting the vaginal pathway. See, buckthorn, macadamia nut oil to eat, consume, not necessarily, you can add it onto your skin, but you don't want to necessarily put it up there. Hair loss. Think about your thyroid when it comes to hair loss. Also think about iron. Iron is so important. Iron's actually really a challenging one because I'm not wild on iron supplements. They can upset the gut microbiome. They can really be constipating as well. If you're going to take an iron supplement, go for an iron biglycinate. But I take something called nano iron. Now, I just cannot. My iron's always been rubbish, so I've been taking this for a while. Nano iron is like a liquid iron that you hold in your mouth and it just diffuses through your cheeks, which is very, very clever. Teeny, teeny, tiny, tiny particles go through your cheeks and it bypasses your digestive system. So particularly if anyone has digestive issues like any scar tissue in the gut, celiac disease, you just don't absorb well through the gut. That could be because you're on certain medications like a proton pump inhibitor, an antacid, an acid suppressant, or otherwise. So if your supplements generally for me work really well, except iron for me is like this, not that one, that's ashwagandha. Oh, here comes the iron. So this one here, it's, there you go. You can just about see it. Oh, she's moved it out of the shot. It's basically a liquid. Now, look, this is an expensive iron. So if you feel like you don't need a liquid one like the nano, and you can start off with a biglycinate. I know Terra Nova do a nice easy iron. It's called easy iron because it's easy on the gut. You can start with that. If your stored iron and your iron levels just aren't going up, try a nano because it's super effective and it really does work. But as I said, the only kicker is that iron's quite expensive. Aches and pains, hair loss we've got in there. And then on the end here, now this isn't an all-encompassing, I've just tried to put as much as I can on your cheat sheet. Liver and detox support. Remember that liver's working really, really hard. If you want to increase your bile production or support your liver, milk thistle's wonderful for that. It's really good if you feel like you're in that estrogen dominance, heavy periods, clotty periods. You want that estrogen clearing better. Milk thistle can be really great for that. Either an organic milk thistle or a fermented milk thistle. What have we got here? Okay, we've got a Viridian milk thistle here. So a nice, simple, straight up milk thistle, or you can have something that's a bit punchier, like a fermented one. I think I have one here, this one here. So it's a probiotic and it's a milk thistle. So it's supporting the gut and it's also supporting the liver. So PMS is at the bottom of that one as well, because it's just a nice one to have in there, an immune support. If you want to learn a bit more about specific, there's a lot of the specifics I've spoken about this evening, then my second book, Hungry Woman, Eating for Good Health, Happiness and Hormones, gives a much more in-depth view into eating to support your hormones throughout your entire female lives. I talk about endometriosis in there and PCOS and various other conditions, but I also talk about this transition that we've kind of done a bit of a whistle-top tour of this evening. But I do hope this whistle-top tour has been really helpful for you. There have been some questions that have come in. I know we're running a little bit over, but I'm going to address this one because it was about mushrooms. Which mushrooms, when, how, what. So mushrooms are really, really helpful for your immune system, but also for your cognition, your brain. But we're talking about all mushrooms here. Your button mushrooms, your chestnut mushrooms. Try and get organic if you can, particularly with mushrooms, because again, they're scavengers. They'll suck up whatever's sprayed on them. And they're fairly inexpensive, actually. The upgrade to organic versus non-organic is not a huge difference in terms of price. So a nice punnet of organic mushrooms is going to have a really positive effect on your immune system. All mushrooms upregulate something called natural killer cells. So they're these really great cells in the immune system that help to ward off the baddies. So yes to mushrooms. Now, if you want specific actions from mushrooms, like lion's mane, for example, lion's mane is really wonderful for our focus, our cognition. Let's have a little look here. Lion's mane. Oh, there you go. Lion's mane focus. So great for cognition. Great for if you're getting a bit of brain fog. So I take lion's mane every day. I'll take like half a teaspoon. If I feel like I need a bit more, I'll take a teaspoon. But if you're getting mushroom, really make sure you're getting a high quality organic and you want the fruiting body and the mycelium. So that's why I've just put the brand in there as well. Mushrooms for Life. That's the brand I use. I'm sure there'll be other ones that are equally as great, but that's just the one I like. And cordyceps. So cordyceps is the Viagra of the Himalayas. So it helps with your libido. It's wonderful for your lung function as well. So it's great for getting vitality into the lungs, let's say. It's a really nice lung function mushroom. And there was one more question. What are we? Just past 8. So I'm going to answer this question as well. This one was about turmeric. And someone who's had breast cancer and wanted to know, can she take turmeric? Now, turmeric, there's a lot of research about the benefits of turmeric, particularly for pain relief, super anti-inflammatory, like really wonderful to get turmeric into your daily diet. Now, we have different types of turmeric. First, we have food source. So with food source, ooh, look at that. That's probably a bit big to go there. That's because I put it there. I needed someone else to do it for me. Oh, there you go. The magic of technology. So this is a lacadong turmeric. Now it's a particular region. Ooh, now I've shrunk. So lacadong turmeric is exceptionally high in curcumin. So this is by Ayusha, I think the brand is called, and they source, it's organically grown, and it's 6 to 8% curcumin versus a supermarket turmeric, which tends to be more like 1%. So if you've had breast cancer and you're concerned about taking a turmeric supplement, but you still want turmeric, because food source turmeric is absolutely fine. It's when we start extracting it, making it more potent that, there's some research actually that says it can be really great for mitigating against some of the side effects of the aromatase inhibitors. But some people are also cautious about taking it. If you take it as a food source, you're going to be fine. So you can use a high curcumin turmeric, such as the lacadong. Now, if you wanted something that's a bit more punchy, and that does have more of a anti-inflammatory and pain relieving effect, you can get a fermented turmeric. As I said, the fermentation helps to access the curcumin, and it has a really very, very effective pain relieving effects. And actually there's some research now that shows that curcumin or turmeric is really great for helping to preserve our bones and help with our bone density also. So there are other forms, there are other turmerics out there also, but as I said, these are the brands that I like and use and trust. So there's your cheat sheet. I've answered some of the questions. Where are we at? 8:05. How are we doing in the chat over there, guys?
A couple of questions there.
Do we have Come on, look, okay. Oh, hello. Do you take both sea buckthorn and... Okay, good question, Daisy. So sea buckthorn juice and the liposomal C daily. What's interesting with vitamin C is you can load up a fairly decent amount into the body, and then it goes down fairly quickly. So, for example, if you're taking a really good swig of your sea buckthorn juice in the morning, you're getting your you're getting your omega-7, you're getting all of the antioxidants from the sea buckthorn juice, you're getting some vitamin C, and then later on in the afternoon or tea time when you're having your meal, you could take a liposomal to really boost your vitamin C levels again. It totally depends on your situation. If you are inflamed, let's say you've got an autoimmune condition, or everything's achy, or you're under a significant amount of stress and your cortisol levels are really high and you're robbing yourself of vitamin C and you can see the changes in your skin. We all know what it's like when we go through a really stressful period and you look in the mirror and like, damn, what happened to my face? That's because your collagen has been robbed. It's been chowed down by all that cortisol, and we're draining our body of vitamin C. So it does depend on your situation. I like to load up on vitamin C because of my age and because I have a lot of plates that I spin. But if you were going to sort of go, oh, well, I'm going to choose one or the other, it's actually quite a tricky one, because the sea buckthorn juice, you're getting the omega-7 in. So if you're in a stage of life where you're really low in estrogen and you're starting to feel like, my eyes are itchy, or I'm getting a bit of internal discomfort, then try sea buckthorn juice and see how that goes for you. But if you're asking, could I take both? For sure, you could take both. Vitamin C can have a laxative effect. So you might need to build up tolerance with sea buckthorn juice. When in the past I've felt like something's really coming on and I'm not feeling so good, I've taken like half a bottle of sea buckthorn juice, and you can be feeling really like, whoa, that's a lot. And it could have a laxative effect on someone if they're not used to it. With the sea buckthorn juice, you're literally taking 20 ml. It's a small amount. It's a shot. And then you can add some sparkling water, a little bit of apple cider vinegar. I've been drinking this evening with my sparkling water. I love apple cider vinegar, and it's great for the adrenals as well, and a little bit of salt. So you can make yourself a nice tonic with some sea buckthorn juice if you don't want to be hardcore and have it as a shot. I hope it's been helpful for you, ladies. I hope you've learnt to understand a little bit more about what's going on in your own physiology, because that's really what we need to be doing, is understanding ourselves so we can work with ourselves and transition into this period of our lives that really is so exciting, because we're stepping into a new era where we're past all that childbearing stage and we're now in our wisdom stage, where we can really start focusing on ourselves and create these boundaries. And it's a really empowering time, but I know it's not so empowering when we're feeling rubbish. But believe me, you can feel great during this time, because, when you work with your incredible body, it's not built to suffer. It's built to get through this time and thrive through this time. So thank you for spending this time with me. It's been such a pleasure. And as I said, I hope it's been really helpful.